You're tuned into the YAAACE Time Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the YAAACE Time Podcast, here from YAAACE Home Base in Jane and Finch. I am your co-host, Zane. I got my guy here again with me.
It's me again, Lita.
And today we have Kevin Barnes with us. Kevin, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, what's up? Coach Kevin Barnes. Been coaching a long time. Happy to be here. Grateful to be part of this project that you guys have launched to continue to impact the youth in this area and in our country through basketball and through the different avenues you guys are pursuing each day to make life better for young people. So grateful to be here. Happy to chat, chop it up with you guys.
Yes, thank you for coming. Thank you. We're glad to have you. So first off, congratulations on a remarkable victory in the 2023 National Championship with Team Ontario.
Yes, sir.
That was a U17 team, correct?
Yeah, definitely. Credit to our guys and our coaching staff. We all came together and did what we had to do to perform well for 1 week in the summer of 2023. So excited we got the outcome we were looking for.
Yeah, for sure. Can you share with us some of the key strategies or key factors that you utilized to or that you believe contributed to the team's success?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, our collective commitment to each other. We really, as Team Ontario, don't get to spend a lot of time together. The way the program works, you have a few weekends over the course of an existing AAU season for other players. They kind of highlight in for you on a weekend, back to their other program after that. So culture is a big thing with us. It's like, how do we create in a short period of time connectivity with our group? And that started with my coaching staff. Usuri is the head coach over at Bill Carruthers and had a great youth sport career himself. And Coach Paul's been part of the youth sports ranks out in Windsor and been through that high performance level of play. So, I had a ton of experience in my staff that I could rely on heavily. We had a dude, Greg Hamilton, was our apprentice coach. And, in these environments where you're having tryouts and you have so many really talented young people coming in the gym, it's really hard to just step back as a coach and evaluate. You really want to get in there and get feeling everybody out and moving things around, drill to drill, keep it happening, organized, bang, 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 bang. And you need coaches that are capable to do that if you're the head coach, so you can step back and evaluate. And Greg did an amazing job coming in and just moving the chains for us, getting us from drill to drill, keeping guys engaged, and, kept everything smooth so that I could do my evaluating. And then with Usuri and Paul, they accepted roles as more of defensive leads for us and took on our whole defensive package. And I relinquished that completely to them, in the stages of our development. So they were able to put their fingerprints, share their experience, and we empowered them as well as our players to really buy in. And that was a key for us. At the Team Ontario level, you have 12 guys that can all make a considerable impact in the game. They're all very talented young players, and they all have unique strengths and weaknesses that, you want to amplify the strengths and minimize their weaknesses. But we're only playing 1 week. So it's like, how do you get the best out of guys in a small, short time period and have them be comfortable with their contribution value? Because whether they play 1 minute or 35 minutes, their value to us and our success is the same. And communicating that to the group was really important to me. And then, I think ultimately there's some things that happen along the way. One thing that you got to get right, I think, with Team Ontario is your captains. And you don't have time to really go through and get to know them really, really well. So, your best player is going to be one of your captains. And Tunde was a captain of ours, the guy himself,
the guy himself,
and he not only kept the guys, engaged and he performed, and he was a guy that really led by example for us. And then another guy, Justice Hazley, whom, is still learning how to be a leader outside of his unbelievable ability to play the game, but galvanize the guys, make guys better, keep everyone on the same page. He accepted the role and thrived in it. And he was a great leader for us. And, whether we needed someone to get into a guy at practice or we needed someone to pick a guy up at practice, he was able to kind of become that for us. And to be honest with you, outside of those captains, each guy had a way of contributing a leadership value in a different way. Like Andrew Urosevic, the first time I called him on the phone, because he played the year before too, same with Justice, and they didn't get the outcome they wanted. We hadn't won Team Ontario in a long time. Jason Dawkins was able to get the job done at U17 at the Canada Summer Games. But prior to that, it had been since 2012 that we had won at that age group. So there was lots of challenges to get us over that. And Andrew definitely could have been a captain, definitely could have just started and played a ton of time because of his prolific offensive ability. But he bought in right from the first phone call that like, hey man, like you might have to come off the bench at some point in this tournament to help me in a short period of time cement our culture with the guys. That if you're willing to do that, then everyone else has to be. You basically set the example for everyone. And not only did he do that for us and come off the bench in the final, but he was an all-star in doing that at the national tournament. So it proved to not only him and ourselves as a group that like, if I'm willing to give up for the team, my individual sort of ego, then we're going to have much better success collectively at the end of the day. And so, those little things happened. And, I could talk forever about this. This was a huge accomplishment for me. It was a culmination of a lot of years of grinding and working and coaching bad teams or less fortunate teams or less talented teams or undersized teams and like, taking lumps, and that's, I think, a hard thing for a lot of coaches is like, you want to win every game because we believe that if we don't win, we didn't succeed or we haven't done well. And it took me a lot of losing and a lot of challenges and being fully committed to start to understand that and have a better perspective on what it means. And honestly, like I wanted to be the head coach of Team Ontario years ago and I thought I was ready. And the reality is it came at the time when I was ready. There was no discount for experience. I've been an assistant coach for 3 years, get my opportunity in the 4th year. And those lessons, those trials and tribulations along the way prepared me to help empower our guys and our coaching staff to go and win us a championship. And so, it was a really exceptional experience for me. I'm super grateful for Team Ontario's trust in me to have that leadership role. And, all power to the next man in, next woman in, whoever gets that role. And hopefully they can continue to repeat and keep Ontario winning.
Oh, for sure. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely,
thank you, Coach.
definitely. So real quick, the coaching staff is selected by yourself, or is that collectively selected? Like how do you come up with
Jason Dawkins and Carmelo Malia and their committee identify the coaches, head coach, and as well our support staff. So that group of guys was put together and then introduced to me. So it wasn't my selection. I mean, I don't know if I could have done a better job, but really, I didn't know YAAACE too well before. There's a little connectivity. A deep brother from Belleville played with him in Lakehead, Jamie Searle, and they're close friends. So there was some connectivity. We had some interactions over the years in OSBA, Southwest, and Bill Carruthers. At a time when Kobe Elvis, who was my star at Southwest, actually transferred to Bill Carruthers. So you know how all that goes.
Yeah.
And so there was probably plenty of reasons for us to maybe come in with some defense or some hesitancy to work with each other, but we really hit it off right off the bat, and immense respect for each other, obviously from those years. And and then the other piece of this puzzle too that I didn't mention, which is really important to mention because it's a person that's involved in your program on a daily basis and has a lot of interactions with your players, is our athletic therapist, Fahim. He came in and they can feel separate from the group. Like they're just there to do the taping and to be the medical support and not part of the team. And, it was important for me to try to help Fahim feel part of the team, and he bought right in. Like he was another coach for us. And his job was to handle the athletic therapy, right? Just like my job was to be the head coach, just like we asked YAAACE and Paul to handle the defensive side of the ball. And everybody kind of bought in and did their thing. But it was important for Fahim. So athletic therapists, assistant coaches, apprentice coaches, and the head coach are all appointed by the governing body of Basketball Ontario. Yeah. So I was lucky. great to have everyone on the same page. Yeah, it takes a bit of work.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes a bit of work.
You're trying to get everyone to peak at a specific point, right?
Yeah.
All that little, you said it was a week, really.
Yeah,
that
we play for a week.
So all the practices, everything, it's for that 1 week, and they have to peak for that week.
Yeah, and
injuries, all that kind of stuff.
They're also trying to peak with 3 other teams. You know what I mean? So that's the crazy part about the model is like, they're coming off of their live periods. They're coming off of the NCAA Academy week, Like we had guys traveling to the U.S. and then being there for a week and coming right back, sleeping in their bed one night, getting on the bus 8 hours out to Bishops, playing with us. Like the week before that, training camp with us. The week before that, training down the U.S. again at another tournament. Like, and it's really crazy to me how it's got to this level, but it's on the back of the talent, right? It's like there's so much talent here in Canada. And the coaches too, like our coaches in Canada are, I think, some of the best in the world. And we do it with very little. There's no resources. There's no support. There's no nothing. It's just like on the back of passion and doing the right thing and, really being committed to your craft. So I think that's part of the whole picture of growing the game out is like, we got to support the talent. We also got to support and grow our coaches.
Absolutely.
Because it works hand in hand. And then the media piece, like what you guys are doing, is a really important part of growing this out and getting the right narratives, the right spotlights on the right things. Because, in the past few years when we've kind of had access to Instagram and that, it's whoever wanted to speak got to drive the narrative.
Exactly.
There's no real control on who gets to see it. So if I'm really, set on getting on Instagram and I'm going to spend a lot of time on that, my message is going to get heard, whether right or wrong. It's my message that's going to get out there. So it's great to have more people taking this side of the basketball ecosystem and sharing different viewpoints, sharing different ways of approaching things, so we can hopefully grow the collective at the end of the day.
No, for sure. No,
yeah. Yeah, no,
that's huge. That's huge. Listening to you speak about basketball, you can feel the passion, in the sport. And I looked at some of the work that you've done outside of Team Ontario. You also worked with university basketball, and I know it's Waterloo and the Mustang. And I just wanted to know what got you so passionate and involved in the sport of basketball. Yeah,
it's a great question. I mean, like I'm a white kid from Belleville. Like, hockey was what we did. And like, we didn't have club basketball. I was fortunate to go to a high school called Nicholson Catholic College and have a few coaches, but, Jim Barbeau was kind of the main guy that had us in our senior years. Patrick Glancy had us, but the program there, we practiced every day. We took basketball serious. It was my first introduction to like competitive play and wanting to win. And, we were very good in our little circle, and occasionally we would dip our toe into the GTA, the Toronto scene, and be competitive. And that was like a big thing for us. And like, we won once or twice, and it was like, oh, like we can beat teams in Toronto. We got to take this a little more seriously. But this wasn't in the time of like skill development and like whatever. Like I would finish basketball practice and then go to my junior hockey practice that night. Like I didn't go like after practice and work out and like work on ball handling and shooting and like try to be the best version I could. It was just like, we're getting more games and we're just playing. We're just kids, right? Doing our thing. And I think the passion started there. And we had a program actually that Jim started called the Little NBA, where the grade 11, 12, 13 high school students coached the grade 5, 6, and 7, and 8 youth players in a house league. And that was the first time I ever coached. And I loved it. It was always so fun to like help those kids learn the game and have fun and get excited. Like, it's not a library, it's a gymnasium. We can yell, we can scream, we can show passion, albeit the referees at times try to temper that, for good reasons in some places, but you got to let the kids play and have some passion. Like it's an exciting game. It's an instinctive game. So that's where it all started. And then, I started to coach a little bit more. I had a bit of a unique journey, but I went to play a year of college hockey because I was still playing junior hockey and I didn't really have an option to play basketball. I went to Ottawa to Algonquin College and we talked to the coach and it was like, yeah, bro, like, you could be like 3rd or 4th string point guard, like, but come to tryouts and we'll see. My junior hockey coach was like, yo, we'll pay you to come home and play. Like, you can play power play. You play. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, you know? But anyway, that dries up, and then there's no professional opportunities for me in hockey, and I'm still really, you know, interested in basketball. So I went down to Camp Wayne in Pennsylvania, and worked as a basketball counselor at a summer camp. And that was really the defining moment for me that summer, seeing how the Americans approached it. And they believed coaching was a profession, right? No one had ever told me I could do that in Canada. And that experience there and just talking to those guys, I came back thinking, you know, I want to pursue this. I want to try to. And so now I was like, I got to play. So I went out to the University of Alberta to Augustana, and I played 4 years of college basketball after a year of college hockey with the intention of getting experience to become a coach. So I was lucky to do that. Fortunately for me, unfortunately for Augustana, they had not won a game the previous season. So an old hockey dude had a chance to make the squad, you know. So I was able to get out there. I got a university degree, and then from there it just spiraled. And then I got the opportunity with Brad at Western. Super grateful for that. But because of, you know, Ryan Barbeau, Jim's son, my high school coach, was entering his first year out there at Western, and so Jim put in a good word for me. Brad was, you know, nice enough to take me on. I'm sure at plenty of times I was so passionate and yelling and going crazy all the time. He was like, what did I do here? Like, how did I bring this guy on? But then he tolerated me for 5 years, and I learned so much from him. And then we started Southwest, and then ultimately ended up with Troy at Waterloo, and the TMO stuff happened through there. So,
nice.
You know, it becomes a long time. But I think just ultimately for me, it's like the impact is what I enjoy so much. Just like getting in the gym every day, having a collective goal to work towards, and being able to like win and lose at that pursuit with each other on a daily basis. And me like be able to say to you like, hey, like you can be better, or like, you know, let's go make another 100 shots to improve at this. Like it's so finite and immediate, the impact you can make.
Yeah.
It's just exciting, man. I just love it. Yeah. It's a big part of my character.
You touched a little bit on it. Being a kid from Belleville and how you guys felt being able to beat teams in Toronto. Do you find that the teams now outside of the GTA are starting to catch up and being able to beat teams in Toronto a lot more often? Or
some teams, you know, a lot of teams here are real good, you know, and it's impossible to counteract the depth and athleticism and size that some of the population yields here in the GTA. When you're in a small town, it's like, you know, who had kids this year and what their parents look like? Okay, maybe we could field a team with a center and a four and a wing and a guard, and like, or maybe it's just a bunch of dudes running around that are all guards, and you're just out there trying to outthink or out-strategize and compete, outshoot, shooting the ball's been a great equalizer. You know, no hot take there. Like we all understand that the game now is about putting volume up from the 3-point line. So yeah, but I do think the depth of talent has changed. I think there's more acceptance of teams outside of the GTA, but make no mistake, like the big smoke's where it's at. Like this Toronto's where the ball's happening, but there are players outside of the GTA that are going to be great and have really good opportunity that need to come in and play these caliber of teams. And it's usually just like a delayed onset. Like what happens in Toronto at grade 6, 7, and 8 happens in London at 9, 10, 11. And then when we meet back in U17, it's like, okay, now it's all good. But when you're like 14 and you play against UPlay or YAAACE, and you guys are running and playing, you're organized, you're athletic, and you're dynamic, and you're dogs, and like we're just like what the hell, like, you know, we're down 20 off the hop, and then it's like, okay, yeah, the rest of the game was even, but like, you know, there's just that social emotional piece and that belief in yourself. Because when you haven't gone through it, there's no discount for experience.
Yeah, for sure.
If you haven't gone through it, you can't learn from it. And so, you know, I think kids in Toronto go through it earlier, so they're ready earlier. And kids from outside of the GTA go through it a little later. And then it all kind of matches up when you're in that 15, 16, 17-year-old, you know, age demographic.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just thinking too right now, and in terms of kids playing basketball in Toronto and transitioning, for example, like playing for a youth league into like high school, for example, and then eventually going to university.
Yeah.
You coaching at Western and Waterloo, right?
Yeah.
What is the one thing that kids come into university with that kind of separates them from having a successful career in college
Yeah.
compared to a kid that would have a hard time? Is it like something within their character, something within their skill? Like, what's the one thing that you look at and like, it's very common? Kids who come in with they succeed. Kids who don't come in with that, they really struggle. I think I would love to hear from you. Like,
I know the answer to this question, and it's not a question that is to be taken lightly. It's self-awareness first, is understanding, like, there's so much entitlement now, and there's so much distraction about who you are as a player, and then your own identity gets wrapped into that. So you think how I play and perform is who I am, right? And we spent time with this every year, and with Team Ontario every year at Southwest. This is an important part of our formative stages with our teams, is identifying yourself, that basketball is what you do. It's not who you are, right? So who you are is holding the door, is being polite, is being on time. It's like, it has nothing to do with whether you score 30 or get 10 rebounds or turn the ball over or, foul a guy and cost us the game. That's not who you are. That's what you did, and it's what you do. So those separations, I think, really define players' ability to deal with transitions. And that's what I'm really big on now in my coaching career, is like, how do we handle the transitions? Like, really, I want to just spend all my time coaching the transitions. And think about that. When I'm saying that, I'm not talking about like a turnover as the only transition. Like, you had the ball, now I have the ball. But it's like, how do I come in and out of the game? How do I react when I miss a shot? Transition from offense to defense that way. How do I react when, I get fouled and it's a hard foul? How many times you see a guy get a hard foul? I'm good. Go to the free throw line and miss both shots because they still haven't moved past the altercation. They're pissed. Yeah. Or their adrenaline's pumping and they long it, or they short it because they're a little off. You know what I mean? It's like, how do we transition through all the different variables of the game? How do we go from this play to the next play? How do I go from giving the ball up to where I'm supposed to be without it? All of these little transitions are happening all the time. And I think coaching kids on how to deal with those will really allow their skill and their ability and their athleticism now to shine through in a different way. So self-awareness is key, man. And then, if I'm being picky, it's like time management, bro. Like, how busy your shit is. Like, you got your social piece, you got your athletic piece, you got your personal time, like, family, whatever other obligations you have. And then on top of that, they're all like multiple things a day. Basketball is not just going to practice at the university level. You got to get your skill work in about an hour. You got to get your workout in about an hour. You got to make sure you know the plays, because practice is live, man. It's like, you can't mess up in there. You get blasted by a teammate or by a coach, and rightfully so, and hopefully in a good way. But you got to be held accountable to that stuff. And then, you leave practice, you're exhausted, but you still got schoolwork to do. You got to eat properly. You got to sleep right. You got to check all these boxes off every day. And so that's, self-awareness is key, because I can't really get to you if you're really guarded or disillusioned, or, have all these other barriers blocking us from succeeding, or you fully committing. And then, time management, man. How do we maximize the time we have in each day to make you the best version of yourself, ultimately the best version our team can be?
I love that. I can't get to you.
Yeah.
I can't get to you. No, I love that. I love that.
I had to learn that. That was hard for me, because you can tell I'm super passionate. I thought I could fix everyone. I thought I could control everything. So in my early years in coaching, I would drive myself crazy to get you where I needed to get you. I'll lead you back to the well 100 times. You could say no. And I'm coming back 101. But it was counterproductive to the team and to myself personally, in my mental wellness and like ability to impact as a leader. Like, I was driving myself crazy for people I couldn't get to, no matter what I did. Could move the earth, wouldn't matter, right? So learning that was a big part of my maturation as a coach.
So you're the founder of the Pro Canadian Invitational?
Yeah.
can you share your vision for that organization and how you plan on it impacting or how you'd like it to impact Canadian basketball as a whole?
Yeah, no doubt. We started this 2 years ago, so we've had 2 versions of it. Wildly successful, but the origin story to that is like basically I had spent all this time over the years helping high school players transition to university. Right. And you think about all the resources we deploy to that. But then I looked back at my time coaching in youth sports, and I had guys always coming up to me saying, you know, I want to play pro. I want to play pro. How do I do that? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, do you know? He's like, yeah, man, I just like average 15 in youth sports. And then I play pro. It's like, bro, like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You know? And so it came kind of at the end of COVID when everybody needed opportunity. And there was like, what do we do next? How do we kind of get back to what we were and whatever. And so it was a good time for us to host the event. And ultimately, the goal of it all is to get guys jobs, get more Canadians playing professionally. And I think we have a disconnect in Canada what we think professional basketball is. And we also have like a status with it. It's like if you're not in like a prominent league or making crazy money, you're not a pro. Or we'll look at guys that like have reasonable youth sport careers or college careers. Maybe it's an academic barrier. They played college, but they can hoop and they need an opportunity. But like nobody's coming in and recruiting you to play pro out of college really. So where do we and how do we create that pathway for players, both men and women, to transition from university and college to a professional opportunity? Even if that professional opportunity is, you know, a little bit of pocket cash and you're living in Portugal.
Yeah.
You're getting a life experience, you're doing what you love, and you might find out that, you know, the reality of pro ball and how cutthroat it is and how hard it is and how much you have to do on your own because the support network's all gone isn't for you. But now you've traveled for a year or two. We've got another Canadian that can come back and say, yeah, you can do this to a younger person.
Yeah.
And it's just about sort of creating that pathway, trying to eliminate barriers for Canadian players to get to the next level after the university career is done. Because guess what? They're like 22, 23. You don't even get any good at anything until you're like 24, 25, when you're like, you know, social maturity, your physical, mental all marries up, and all of a sudden you like kind of get it. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, that I wish I knew that, or I wish I did that back then. That's what we all say as old heads, is like, yo, if you did now what I knew then and or whatever, you know, it's like,
and
man.
The same frustration of trying to teach the younger generation that the older generation was trying to teach us the exact same things.
Exactly.
When you get older, you'll realize, and we get older, and it's a cycle.
Yeah. No discount for experience, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Because we can all look back and be like, yeah, like this is how you need to do it. But like in the moment, bro, you can't.
It's hard. Yeah, it's
can't
hard.
Get to them.
And the person who's trying to talk to you is like, oh, they don't get it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you don't get it. You know, it's like 100%. I look at some things that people are trying to teach me.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they told me this a long time ago, but now I'm looking back.
Right.
You know, but you can't bring anything back now. It's gone.
And you get it now, which is the crazy thing, because you're a different version of yourself.
Yeah.
But like you can look back at your younger self and be like, man, why didn't I get that? Mm-hmm. I wish I had just, you know, been more open to that, or been more coachable, or just like put a little more time into that, you know. But at the same time, the way you went through your path made you who you are now. And basketball is just a small part of that puzzle, right? So it goes back to the identity piece of like, you know, who you are versus what you do. And you can't play basketball forever. You know, the greatest players in the world are done. I mean, I don't know if LeBron's ever going to be done, but like the greatest players, they end at like 35 to 38, you know, 39 year old, and that's over.
And he's still going. LeBron is still going. Like,
I sent my brother a message the other night when he closed out the Rockets.
Yeah.
I was like, just a PSA. Watch LeBron while we still can. This dude just closed out the Rockets. Like, you know, it was unbelievable. He banged down a three, and Bronny Jr.'s in there, and then he made the simple pass to A. Reeves, knocks down a three. You know,
and
like
he pointed at is that
like the
Bronny?
iconic clip. He's pointing at Bronny. I'm like, what's happening right now? Like, it's like bring your kid to work day. Like they just got the dude setting score. It's like it's a show in the show. It's the Lake Show. I don't know, man. But watch Bron while we still can. You know. I think it's so important.
No, he's special. He's special for the culture. Like like I don't know what he does to what he eats, or like it's just he still does it like he did it 10 years ago.
Well, he's spending a lot of money on his body. for sure. And obviously there's, high performance elements to his training that we have no idea is going on, but like just to be able to be in that shape, let alone play a basketball game, like be in that physical condition right now is impressive. I'm 40, bro. I don't even want to play pickleball too long. Like, let's be real. Like, the back gets stiff. I had hockey last night. I'm dragging in here. The legs are sore.
and I think that's also huge too. And like, there's these kids understanding the importance of recovery. Because I remember in the beginning of our conversation, you were talking about how, like, the season can be so long, right?
Yeah.
And just reiterating and making them understand that recovery is so important, right?
Yeah.
I remember playing at Laurentian. They're like, oh, we're not practicing today. We're just going to spend the whole time stretching because we had a long weekend.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I love those.
Yeah.
But tell me to do that in high school. Like, I don't need to do that.
Man.
We just you play a game, and then in between games, there's just chocolate milk and like chicken tenders.
You're playing a game. You're playing your own little
game.
game. Like, there's game and game, and then you're on the side playing a game. It's like one-on-one and like whatever.
Oh,
no,
man.
for sure. I think the idea there is education, right? It's like, how do we teach these kids that what they do now impacts their body 5 years from now? And then you think about a student athlete, a young person, they're not thinking 5 years ahead. They're thinking about tonight.
Yeah.
What's happening after the game? Who am I meeting up with? What am I doing? What's happening tomorrow? Like, so it's hard, but you got to educate them. And really our system's not set up for it. It's a survival of the fittest. Let's be honest. It's like, and you don't ever want to say no to an opportunity as a parent or a kid in this environment. Cause like, it seems crazy, but like you can go to one tournament and play well in front of the right person, and that could change the trajectory of your life. Right. So it's a really hard balance to find between rest and compete, and opportunity versus like just staying home and developing. Like, you think about all that time you spend traveling to a tournament, you get a lot of work done at home in the gym, or on yourself without having that done. But, it's give and take, and each individual is unique. So you got a case by case basis with that.
So your background, from what we understand, is in physical education and recreation?
Yeah. So I got a rec and leisure diploma from Conestoga College. And then I went to the University of Alberta and got a physical education degree. And that was part of that sort of pathway I mentioned earlier, transitioning from hockey to basketball, player to coach, and understanding for my long-term goals. Like, if I'm going to coach basketball and lead youth, that, having a physical education degree would be an asset to trying to accomplish that goal.
Okay. And how do you integrate those disciplines into your coaching philosophy?
Yeah. So like, you get into like physiology and human kinetics and like how we move and the science of how we move. I'm not a huge like analytics science dude. I'm a people guy, and I like to empower people. But those elements of our game are so important now. And even rest and recovery, like, it's not just like rest till you feel good. Like, there's a purpose for it. There's a scientific background to why and how you rest. Like, even with our national team, they consider a flight the same wear and tear on your body as a practice. So when you fly somewhere, they count that as practice day, and then have the according days afterwards to fit into their plan to keep the bodies right, to keep people performing, right? So, obviously that was a while ago now, that I was in school, and, there's certain things that stay with you, but there's certain things that, you got to stay up on. And if I'm being honest, I'm not staying up on the human kinetics as much as I probably should. But again, like, that comes down to basketball coaching in Canada. It's like, I don't have the luxury of dedicating all my time to being a coach, and I would love to do that. I can dive in and do that, but, so the phys ed degree was a way for me to compete. It was a way to get a little bit of scholarship money. It was close enough alignment to what I wanted to be in a coach and looking after athletes and high performance players. And it was a really great tool, and I had a really wonderful experience out in Alberta. And Coach Drabuk is now the lead at Basketball Alberta, who was our coach there. And, when you look back, you're just so grateful that you had those access points that when you're younger, you probably don't fully respect or understand or take full advantage of. But we change, we grow as people. And now looking back now and having gone through this stretch I have in trying to become a coach in Canada full time, I just have so much appreciation for those guys tolerating me, and also, you know, allowing me the access to the things that help me get to where I am.
And so for aspired coaches, in that sense, like what message or what would you like to kind of tell them, like young people who would want to be coaches one day, you know, who'd want to impact youth when they grow older, or having a career in working either with in college level or high school level, or maybe an NBA level, you know, like what advice would you give people who are inspired to be coaches?
Yeah, well, I think that's a really great thing you mentioned there is NBA, right? And it's not something we talk about very often, but, you know, you look at what Roy Rana's been able to do, you know, Jay Triano, you know, guys are starting to do what, you know, the OG Canadian guys like Rick Fox and like, you know, those guys that were really just starting to crack the NBA to show that it's possible.
Yeah.
You know, Roy's a guy that was a U Sport coach, and now he's a fixture in the NBA and globally, you know, with international programs.
Yes.
You can do it, you know, and I think that's an important message. But the hard part in saying that and showing that is that, like, to do it, it's going to require an extraordinary amount of passion and a huge time commitment. And it's going to be a grind, because we right now currently don't have the resources or the infrastructure to support the development of a young coach as a full-time job, or as it would deserve to have. You have to have another job, and you have to bring whatever's left of yourself at the end of the day to the gym and put the best version of yourself forward, as part of a side hustle or you know, a personal pursuit of passion that you have, to be involved in the sport and contribute and impact where you can. And ultimately, there's very few places at the college and university level for you to even do that. So if you have an opportunity to do that, you know, want to bring value to that program any way you can. Be a contributor. I think it's be an energy giver, not a taker. You know, no ego. Do anything you can to help. And then reps, like, you know, it goes back to the experience piece. Like, I think coaching is one of those crazy professions that everyone thinks they can do. You know, and you take it down to a small area of even a team. There's the parents of the team believe every decision you make is either right or wrong. The assistant coaches, as loyal as they will be, will also believe, hey, I could do it. If he's gone, I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a really challenging thing to pursue, knowing that there's no real kind of framework of jobs. So one of the things I'm really passionate about, and one thing we try to do with the Pro Can as well, just going back to that, is it's not just for the players. It's a way for us to connect as coaches. And whatever you got going on the rest of the year, that's great. But for a weekend or two or whatever, let's come together and pool our resources to try to create as many opportunities as we can, learn from each other, and just kind of put your own personal stuff aside. Let's have a collective weekend and see how we can develop and grow as coaches, hopefully create more resources so that those guys that do, or those girls that do really pursue it, at some point they can make the switch from having to work a full-time job and bring whatever's left of themselves to be fully committed to coaching in this country and really allow them to impact our student athletes.
How do you think we go about creating those resources? How do we get to? I mean, you also come from the hockey side.
Yeah,
hockey is a very developed sport.
Hockey is propped up by the government.
Yeah, that's where I was going. That's where I was going with it.
Yes.
Do you think it's something that we need to get more funding from the government in order to is that the resources that you're talking about that we need in order to
it's one part.
Full-time
it's coaches? One part of it. You know, I think government funding is a part of it in Canada. That's just the way our country is set up, like socio-culturally. That's we're not socialists, but we want everybody to eat and have something and, you know, be taken care of. So there has to be some involvement from the government on the basketball side. And I think that's starting to happen. And, you know, that's a great key component. I think the private investment, the private money is really important. And you're starting to see that too. You know, guys like Sam Ibrahim and the playground, and they've done a lot for youth basketball with their infrastructure and facilities, but also like at the pro level with Scarborough Shooting Stars and the impact that has in that immediate community, you know, and showing that, you know, with that type of investment also brings along some of the other corporate money and other advertising dollars like we were talking about earlier. It's like, You know, how do we show big business in Canada that people are playing, and there's a lot of attention here, and there's a lot that can be accomplished both in small inner city communities and rural environments. Like, everybody's playing now. You can reach such a wide range of people. And that private money, that advertising dollars is going to help. And then, you know, the reality is we just need people to run programs that prioritize the coaches. You know, like, it's hard to say like Jimmy's dad's the coach and we should pay Jimmy's dad as the coach. It's like,
Right.
I get that. But like, every youth club should have a full-time coach that is paid, and you take a piece of everybody's registration to cover that person's salary.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they coach one age group every year and the kids feed into it, or maybe they cruise around and help the coaches, whether that's a technical director role or something along those lines.
Right.
But I think that's a simple way for us to create immediately, you know, 50 to 100 more jobs in basketball without really impacting the pocketbook of the parent, who is already paying crazy registration fees in most environments to participate. You know, we can't keep going back to that well over and over again, like, oh, they'll just pay more, they'll just pay more.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, those are some ideas, man. But it really just, you have to prioritize it. We have to value it as a profession.
Yes.
And we've got to create resources. We got to go and hustle and create them, and then allocate them to the coaches to do it.
Absolutely. So, what's next for you?
I don't know.
I don't
know,
What
man.
would you like to do next? Because you mentioned you're no longer in the Team Ontario head coaching position.
Yeah.
Do you have any targets now? NBA maybe?
Yeah.
D1?
Oh, man.
Like, where?
Kidding now. Dream come true. Eventually, that would be a great way for this story to end. But I think for me at this point, I think, you know, I'm taking some time with my family. One of the elements of doing a job and then going to practice every day is you have very little of your time left for your family. And my wife has been so supportive of me over the years. And we have 2 young kids now. I got a son, Ben, who's 5, and a daughter, Jordan, who's 2. And, you know, they're giving me the full court press every day now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm filling my time with that alone. I'm more tired there, you know, than when I was out in the gym. But, you know, so I'm really enjoying that. I'm filling the time. You know, there's little passion projects and things that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever I can use my creative outlet to continue to be engaged with. But I'm also really fortunate that my job at Total Sports Solutions, it helps build infrastructure. We sell FIBA aligned Yonkers hardwood flooring. We sell Snap Sports courts for backyards and for warehouse converts, and, you know, all of these different access points for players and coaches I'm helping to create. So I'm making a big impact still that way, I feel, and it's aligned with my core values. And I'm so grateful that, like, you know, when I sell a product, I know what it does when I leave. I know the people that are going through it every day and what's happening in there and how it's impacting lives directly.
Right.
And that's a big part of what we do. And our owner, Ian, is so supportive of the basketball community, and, you know, is always asking me to find ways to get involved and how do we help? How do we do more? So I'm really entrenched still in the basketball ecosystem and what I'm doing. And then selfishly, on a coaching side, you know, I want to spend more time with the national program, which I hadn't been able to in the past because there's no time left after you do everything else. And, you know, our junior academy program, our 7-8s, our young people, and our cadet national team, and, you know, our U17, U18, U19 programs, and ultimately senior men's national team at some point would be amazing to just contribute in some way, bring value in some way to those programs. I'm sure you guys saw and were having similar feelings of joy when Canada was able to win bronze against the USA. DB had a wild out game, which was fantastic to see. He went off, and we got the job done. That was on a Yonkers floor, which we sell. So there's connectivity there as well. But yeah, I mean, like, it's all going in a really great direction, and just being a part of it, being able to contribute and find value is kind of my thing right now. And
Dope.
Yeah, we'll see what comes, man. We'll see what happens next.
Yeah, dope.
Now we asked the $1 million question. Is it time for it?
Yeah, I think it's time. I think
Hit
so.
me with
I
it.
don't know if you know,
question.
over here at YAAACE, we call this the goat farm.
Okay, I like it.
We call this the goat farm
I like it.
because we out here raising goats.
I love it.
Is what we're trying to do.
I love
So,
that.
Yeah, hit him with that.
So here's the question:
Give me the money question.
who's the GOAT?
Bro,
Hold up.
you know how old I am, right?
Who's the GOAT?
GOAT is Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Okay.
Statistically, the best player at the end of the day will be LeBron James.
How?
Because of the numbers. We just can't argue the numbers. He's going to play forever.
More games.
Yeah, more games, more everything. But the GOAT is MJ.
What makes MJ the GOAT?
MJ's ability to win and dominate his teammates and his opponents into winning. Like, opponents obviously on the other side of it, they get the silver linings. But like, just his ability to dominate and all facets of the game, like best offensive player, best defensive player on the floor, and then pulling everybody in the fight every night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this the winning percentage is just crazy. Like,
it's crazy. Yeah, I saw something the other day about, you know, how many guys in the NBA have been able to eat while LeBron has been in the league versus how many guys were able to eat when Jordan was in the league.
Yeah, it was like no food left for anyone.
When
else.
he was there, yeah, it was his.
Yeah.
He was taking it all.
Yeah,
So.
it's a different time too. Yeah. I also hate that question, just by the way, because there's so many amazing players.
Yeah.
It's so much impact in the world of basketball. It's like, how do we just like pinpoint on one dude? Yeah. But I'm conditioned, and through my privilege and everything else, it always comes out Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So no, that's crazy because yeah, I think you shared that video. You shared the video of who eats on whose watch, and I think we also looked at the video of one of the guys said when we got the roster, actually the plan for the entire season, we used to mark the days we were playing Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah, you got to be aware of that. Yeah, and you got to make sure you don't say anything in the media, or you don't eat some food that he doesn't like, or
don't do anything to piss
look
him
at the
off
sun when he didn't say you could look at the sun, because then he's gonna get you that night. Like, you know, he was just crazy competitive like that. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Wow, but look at LeBron's numbers right now at his age.
Yeah,
versus anyone else of the greatness that played at his age in this year of his NBA. It's like it's like a crazy gap.
There's nothing less than impressive.
No, it's
nothing
wild.
less than impressive.
It's wild.
I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see anything like it again.
No. How long is he going to play for?
I thought it was just waiting for Bronny to come into the league. At least that's what I thought.
Bro, it's like...
Well, that's next season, no? That would be next season if he gets...
Is he going to get in the league? Is Bronny good enough?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he's got the red carpet to get him in there, just sell tickets and the marketing piece of it all, and like the father-son thing's amazing. Like,
yeah. I think if guys like Giannis's brothers can get in...
Yeah, no doubt.
They could find a spot.
That's a good point. Yeah, keep the king happy and...
Yeah.
Man, I don't know.
But whatever team Bronny does end up going to is...
He's piling it up.
Gonna get a year of LeBron as well.
Yo, do you remember when LeBron broke the all-time scoring record?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still scoring at a crazy clip.
Going.
He's going to put a big number up. If he plays 3 more years, like that's going to be a big number.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine the pressure of the kids of these like legends.
Yeah.
Like the pressure of like, I can't imagine, like, for example, Michael Jordan's kids. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure people are looking saying, okay, are they going to be the next great thing?
Yeah.
You know, and Dwayne Wade's son, like, it must be a lot of pressure.
Yeah, well, these kids grow up in the gym, right? And they grow up surrounded by professionals.
Well,
so
they got
you would think that, it's just naturally they're gonna fall into that, but.
Yeah, I think the measurables is the big advancement they have over everyone else, right? It's like genetically, you have a really good chance of being at the measurable level physically to have a chance, you know, and that's the thing that it's really hard pill for young players to swallow is like, you know, if you're 6 feet tall, your ceiling is really limited. And that's like not to do with any of the work ethic, any of the time you put in, any of the skill set, just like, literally, as you continue up the ladder, the 6-foot guys disappear, no matter how good they are.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's some that are just so much better than everybody else. They obviously persevere, but like if you're 6'4", if you're 6'6", if you're 6'10", your pathway is very different.
No, the Raptors just played a 5'8" guy.
Yeah, Noel. What's his name? Yeah, Marquise Noel.
Yeah.
That guy was talking crazy. When he got drafted, he was going to be the greatest Raptor of all time. Do you remember this? He was going off. I was like, bro, chill. You need to pause. Like, you're like maybe going to make the team here.
Yeah.
Like, you might get some run.
Yeah.
But you're going to be the greatest of all time. And then, you know, you got Fred VanVleet hit a little bit bigger, an inch bigger, maybe 5'9", at his size, that just had such an amazing run with the Raptors. It's like, and you're just going to come and be better than that?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no, it's great to have belief in yourself.
For sure. For sure. And it's great to be a fan, so we can sit here and clown on it.
Absolutely.
You know, he's in there putting major work in on a daily basis with a big chip on his shoulder. And prove me wrong, that'd be great, because that means the Raptors are going to be better, which I love.
We'd love to see it. We'd love to see
that. But
we'd love to see it.
I mean, pardon my French. 5'8", greatest of all time. Like Muggsy rolling over in his lazy boy chair right now. I'm like, what? Yo, you have no idea how hard it is, kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Coach, thanks, man. We thank you for coming by and chopping it up with us, being on the podcast. We appreciate it. You dropped some nuggets here for us and giving us some insight into your career and
I appreciate
what got you
that.
to where you are today. So thanks for being on the podcast.
I'm gonna have to get a fresh fade before I come next time. And I'm gonna come in and wear a hat today and cover it up. But
perfect.
Hit the barber, get all cleaned up.
Right.
Perfect.
You know, lined up nice, and then
now I gotta make sure I do the same thing.
I
didn't get the hat.
It's a cutoff. It's a cutoff.
Get the hat. I guess all of us. Maybe
I gotta start wearing a hat now. Cause no.
There you go. Well, keep doing what you're doing, guys. I really do think it's important what you're doing, and it's a really impactful thing to create a message that people can access without being here with you.
Right.
Because the people that are here with you are definitely getting the benefit of your hard work and your passion, but sharing that message, across the country is really, I think, great that we can do this. And so I'm here for it. You let me know. I'll tap in. I'm not the guy himself, but I coached him for a week once.
I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. This has been another episode of the YAAACE Time Podcast. Tune in next time. We got more. Take care.